Association, the JMEA Expo Jamaica 2025. And if you walk into the arena, you'd think that all these areas set up here have been here for a long time. They are so beautifully put together. And it's a delightful environment in which to sit today. They've actually given me DT 2 nice plush chairs. So any moment now, if you hear a sound coming out, like I'm in REM, pardon me, but they've made it super comfortable here. The temperature is quite good. And I'm sitting across from a booth where I can see some egg trays. And you know, egg short. So anyhow, there are eggs today, I'm taking away no less than 5 dozen or something of the sort. Anyway, we know you have choices. We're happy when you come here. Happier when you find reasons to stay. This is the hotline.
Emily's views, her position on the issues, her point of view backed up by the facts. Here are Emily's views.
I can't help but to think how timely this expo is. I don't think God easy. Look how God just put up to our faces all the beautiful things that we produce locally and which are available to us in the face of the madness that is going on around us in the world. Yeah, this is actually telling us you don't have to go anywhere else. Anything you want is here. Let's see if we will begin a national introspection and buy more of what is here. And let's see if the people who are here, who are producing, can find alternative local sources to use than to get some of the raw materials from elsewhere at a cost that they can ill afford at the moment. So I know that you are watching what is going on in the world. So am I. In the latest news, I see Sky reporting that the US stocks fall again as Wall Street opens to a sea of red, with Elon Musk's Tesla among the firms hit. And it says New York Stock Exchange has opened to more falls as China responded to Donald Trump's tariff package with a retaliatory rate of its own. The hit this morning with 34%. And in the UK, top stocks have also continued to slide, with the banks the hardest hit. And if there is ever a time that we need calm, we need to have patience sometimes, to watch things die a natural death because they should not have come in the first place, then I think perhaps this is the time. As I said to Derek this morning on Help Me Understand This just a little bit more, I would not be surprised if an announcement comes very soon that these tariffs on every single country in the world, and whichever country was not individually named, they perhaps already have some sort of sanctions imposed on them, and they will probably have that 10% base tariff anyway. But all of what is going on, it is near impossible for it to continue. And there are some individuals who thrive in great cacophony, great confusion. And many of us just can't manage in the confusion. So in the midst of the confusion, we have to just learn to keep our heads about us. And on top of that, it is becoming very clear that this is not only about matters of the economy, or not only about matters of politics, but this is also about control. Control, building alliances, based on preferential treatment to be given to those who petition, so as to silence those who petition and those who get, so that when other actions are being pursued, then those special interests who get discretionary and preferential treatment will say nothing. And we have to learn to watch and to read the playbook and figure out exactly how are we going to respond in the most effective way. And the most effective response is not necessarily the loudest response. It's a very unsteady time in the world. But this too shall pass. Yeah? We don't even know from one day to the next exactly what the policies are and which ones will stay. So I would advise us not to get too frenzied about them. We study them, we recalibrate, and we act with great calm, knowing that it will be long but not forever. Last week, Friday, was an interesting day. After I got off the program, you know, we'd been watching the developments in the Supreme Court, particularly because the court in the week before imposed an interim injunction on the Minister of Local Government and the Attorney General. These two were brought as defendants to a claim concerning amendments to the Counties and Parishes Act in relation to Portmore. That document, we now learned, having gone to the lower house, the Senate, that it has received the assent or the signing off of the Governor General. But there is one further step that has not yet been done, and that is to name what they call an appointed day. And that is a day when the act would come into full effect. From the little I caught in the Senate, week before last week, I believe, the minister who piloted the bill through the Senate, Foreign Affairs Minister, indicated that that was left to be done, and that that process would only take place after certain other steps were taken. Remember now, there's no one now alive who has ever seen a parish being brought into being in Jamaica. So there's nobody who can guide us on the process at all, except we look to the documents, in this case the Constitution, to see what exactly does it say about how this business is supposed to be done. The court imposed an injunction initially and gave time for affidavit in reply and submissions to be prepared by the local government minister and by the Attorney General. So when they went back to court last week, by the time they went back, the injunction died as a result of the time that was placed on it. So the injunction lifted itself with the passage of the days for which it was imposed. And when they went back to court, the injunction was not reimposed because the parties, as happens from time to time in legal matters, the parties meet, and when they meet, they agree on the wording of an order that is to be put in place for whatever period. So I understand that a consent order was crafted and which the court accepted. And the essence of it is that the Minister of Local Government gave an unequivocal undertaking that he wouldn't appoint a day for the act to come into operation until the procedure that is laid out in the Constitution, that it has been complied with and an order is made in compliance with that section. To my surprise, I saw all sorts of press releases where victory was being claimed by the government and by the opposition. When victory is claimed in the courts, one of the things I look forward to seeing is how the cost order is made. Right? There is a saying that costs follows the event. In other words, the party who is told to pay the cost of the next side, the paying party is normally the losing party. In this case, each side was ordered to bear his own costs. So you tell me who win, who lose. Yeah? So you look to that. So you can know how to gauge and know how to read what is actually being said. So then, Tuesday gone, after all of this took place, we had the benefit of seeing for the first time in operation, certainly for the first time I have taken notice of this particular committee, the Boundaries Committee of Parliament was thereafter activated, and it is chaired ordinarily by the Speaker. And so when the Boundaries Committee of Parliament sat on Tuesday, we saw for the first time, certainly me, for the first time in Parliament, the Attorney General, Dr. Derek McCoy. And Dr. Derek McCoy showed up in Parliament, and part of the exchange between him and Fitz Jackson, the Member of Parliament for South St. Catherine, and a man who is a party to the legal action, he being a claimant against the government in court, he asked a couple questions of the Attorney General, and the responses are quite interesting. Let's hear the exchange between Fitz Jackson and the Attorney General, Derek McCoy. Do we have that there?
Member Jackson.
Yes, not to do with that, but the related subject of what is being referred to the ECJ, and in particular the electoral office itself. We have the benefit of the AG in our midst. Very unusual. I'm honored to be sitting in the same chamber with the AG. But there is on the matter that is being referred to the ECJ, there was a comment made or attributed to the AG that I would like to benefit a little clarification regarding the court ruling that we are acting on. That the ruling, the order that was handed down by the Supreme Court, just for my edification, was there a lifting? Was there a lifting of the injunction?
Temporary injunction.
Yes. Was there a lifting of an injunction by the court?
Yes.
But I ask you that because my understanding is that the injunction that was issued prior to had expired upon that hearing.
Yes.
So if it expired, it couldn't have been lifted.
Yes, we continue with the excerpt.
Hold on a minute. AG, would you be so kind, turn your mic on again, please?
Thanks. I'm very quick. What we have here is an undertaking by the minister to ensure that the constitutional process is followed. There's no injunction preventing anything, and it would probably a little bit eccentric perhaps for a court to want to give that type of injunction for any longer on man time. But the minister's undertaking to the court is that before he exercises the power given to him by the statute, he will ensure that the constitutional requirements are carried out. It might be useful to say that this function of determining constituencies, or the number of them, and the boundary of them resides in your parliament. It doesn't reside in anybody else. I know we're all very proud of the Electoral Commission, and we attribute to them all sorts of responsibilities. But the Commission's responsibility is just to advise first this committee, and this committee will then recommend to Parliament. So, yeah, so the function, I make the point that you're deferring so often to the Electoral Commission, but you defer to it to advise you, and you will accept or reject the advice it gives. The Parliament makes the decision as to what the boundaries are.
Yes. Yes, thanks for that. And that's a very important clarification. Very important, because I realize that there is a belief, it seems, that the Parliament with the elected representatives in the House and the selected ones in the Senate, it's as if we want to defang them of their legislative authority at different points in time. As I said before on this matter, it was Parliament that created the city municipality of Portmore. And it must be Parliament that now creates a parish. The ECJ will ensure, based on the provisions in Section 67, that it realigns constituency boundaries along parish boundaries, and it is to advise the Boundaries Committee of Parliament on its work. And that committee will accept or reject what the ECJ says. It is not duty-bound to accept what they say. And I heard Mr. Warmington actually making the point, which we need to go back and check Hansard, that a previous director of elections made recommendations to the Boundaries Committee over 6 years ago on the realignment of some constituency boundaries, and that the Boundaries Committee rejected them because the realignment could not be justified. And I think we need to really watch it. We need to ensure that if there is an intention, as is alleged by Fitz Jackson and the opposition leader, if there is an intention to so skew the boundaries so as to give the JLP any sort of political advantage, then that intention ought not to be what drives the process. But we also need to ensure that we do not take away the right of this committee to scrutinize whatever decisions the ECJ proposes, so that they may be in a position to either accept the advice or to reject it. So I was very pleased to see the sort of very clean way in which the committee operated, despite a request by Mr. Warmington to impose a particular request on the ECJ. The chairman of the committee, the speaker, said their only remit at the Boundaries Committee is to pass on to the ECJ the act without the appointed day, to pass on as well the order of the court, and along with the act, then all of the boundaries that Parliament has suggested with the outlines for Portmore, and then the ECJ gets to work, right? The only limit that has been imposed, because you cannot work, you need some timelines, and I believe they've been told to come back on or before the end of May. Yeah? I don't think that whatever happens there there will be any change to accommodate an election which is due sometime soon. Yeah, and I say this sometime soon because I see another furor coming up about when elections are constitutionally due. Maybe later on in the program I'll have a look at the constitutional provision and see whether with the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, her reading of the Constitution, if it is correct, or if the release by the General Secretary of the PNP, if it is warranted about, you know, September 2025 and all that jazz. The bottom line is when we're in a process of learning, then we must be open to understanding a process better and to ensure that we don't take away from people who actually have the power to do something what they're supposed to do. Our only remit in this is to ensure that it is done according to the Constitution. And what we know for sure is that if it is not done according to the Constitution, then the challenge by Fitz Jackson and the others, then it will continue in the court. I wondered as well, I think I heard Michael Hilton, King's Counsel, on Beyond the Headlines on Friday, and he said, as far as he is aware, the claim against Mr. Mackenzie and the government, it continues in the court. And I'm thinking, continues to what end? Because if what they do is done according to the Constitution, then is there anything left in the claim? I don't know. But it is good to watch and see. But all of those floor releases about victory by so-and-so, at best, it is a 50-50. Because each party bear his own costs. And when you are uncertain about things, you look and see what the court says about who is to pay whom. Those are my thoughts for the moment.
Join us next